Starting webinar.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to All About OIE. We invite you to join us over in the chat, where throughout our time together today, if you have any questions, you are welcome to pop those there, as well as any comments. So we will start out with what I know you all know and love, our standard disclaimer.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
All right, now that you're officially disclaimed, we are joined today by two of your OIE program officers. We have Donna Bustle and Bianca Williams with us today. They are going to be guiding you through a fast-paced, fun session all about OIE. So in order for you to take part in that, you're going to need to join us over in Kahoot. So you can either, if you're with us on a browser, just open a new tab in your browser and type kahoot.it, just like you see it here on the screen. It's going to ask you for a pin. You're going to poke in 230-945, or this is how I sometimes like to join. If you don't want to put it up on your computer, you can also grab it on a tablet, a cell phone, if I can make it show with my background. And you can always join from a mobile device as well, and just type in that kahoot.it into your mobile browser. Same thing, pop in that pin and you'll be able to join our game today. If you're not able to join Kahoot, you're still welcome to stay in the session and follow along on screen. You can even post some answers over in the chat, but we encourage you to join the Kahoot if you're able. With that, I'm going to switch the share here so that you can actually see our fun and fast-paced game. There we go. I'm still waiting for some players. So we'll wait as you're getting started. I'm also going to pop over in our chat how you can join, just to make sure everybody has it. Again, it's kahoot.it. And the pin, whoop, I apologize, I just kicked myself out of our own chat. So you can be going to the kahoot.it, and I'll get that pin in the chat here in 1 second. And Corinna, I see you can't join the Kahoot. If it's just a matter of you're not able to and you still want to stay in the session, no worries. Oh yeah, the firewall. Yeah. If you're not able to join, it's okay. You're still welcome to stay and just play along in the chat. And then those who are, great too. I'm just gonna pop that chat. There we go. And I see we've got lots of folks joining in. I'll give you about 1 more minute to get in before we take it away here. All right.
And don't worry, everyone, these are going to be general questions. All programs should know this information. And if you don't, you'll learn it today. And also, just to make things a little bit more exciting, the top 3 players will receive a prize of a book written by a native author. So at the end, we will collect your contact information so you can receive that book.
See, and I didn't even know there were prizes. I was just building this as a good time. All right, I think we've got most folks in. I'm gonna hit start, but if you're still working on joining, don't worry, it'll still let you in. So don't fret. Here we go. All about OIE.
Let's get ready.
Yeah, this does take fast fingers, everybody.
Right. So at minimum, how often should grantees make drawdowns? Should you do it monthly, weekly, quarterly, or semi-annually? And And this is the recommendation from the office. Plug in your answers. You probably can't Google it, so no cheating. Try to give everyone enough time. I know it kind of can go a little fast, but if everyone's answers are in, we can go to the next one. Dun, dun, dun. Quarterly. Correct. So at minimum, we do recommend to have quarterly drawdowns. If you make more than that, that is great. If you make less than that, we definitely want to encourage you to make or work with your fiscal officer so you are making more drawdowns. But at least make a drawdown every quarter. Any questions on this? I know we had a couple people who said monthly, which is great. If you're doing monthly and that is your standard, do monthly. We're not trying to change that, but we do want to make sure that, we're not just drawing down at the end. If you've been a grantee with us for a while, you'll know that could potentially lead to budget reductions. All right. Good job. Let's see if these leaders stay in these positions, and we'll go to the next question.
All right, for your next question, who should you contact for budget modifications? Do you contact your ed fiscal officer? Do you just go to G5? Do you contact OIE at Synergy? Or do you contact your ed program officer? So who would you contact for your budget modifications? I should have had some music.
I know, elevator music.
Like
Jeopardy. Pull up some jazz.
17 of you guys said ed program officer. You are correct. You're correct. Your budget modifications, anytime you make a budget modification, which you can anytime throughout the year when you need to, you contact your ed program officer.
And for those of you who said ed fiscal officer, that is super wishful thinking for me as well. I wish we had another person who was responsible for the fiscal side of things, but in OIE, your program officer handles, your performance questions and as well as your fiscal questions as well.
Yeah.
Next question. Nice, Camps.
And Miss Amber Silverhorn are in the lead.
I do think the faster you put your answer in, the increase your score or something as well. If you guys are getting everything right, you got to be.
That is correct. Yeah, fast fingers get you more points.
All right, next question. When does the fiscal year start? Is it January 1st, September 31st? Is it October 1st? Or is it whenever your school starts? I'm gonna try to play some.
You're gonna play some Jeopardy music.
I'm gonna say I
Jazz
think
music.
some music built in within the thing. Let me see. I think I just had it turned down when we were waiting. Plus then you get to go home.
October 1st, and that is correct. October 1st. Did everyone? Oh, September 31st. I think we got 2 people who said that. That's kind of a trick question. So October 1st is the correct answer.
Oh,
Okay, Amy. Moved
maybe
on
the
up.
word shifted. And, okay. So your next question, when does the fiscal year end? So does it end December 31st? Does it end March 31st? Whenever your school ends, or September 30th? Why does that sound like Halloween music?
I was about to say that.
It
It's
really
kind of
does.
creepy elevator music.
Yeah, it's a little creepy.
Because the end of the fiscal year can be scary.
It can, especially for us.
It does sound like maybe the fiscal year is about to attack.
Right.
Like APRs. Yay,
Good job.
everybody got
That's
that.
why I didn't want to say the answer the last time. I was like, September, never mind. I knew this question was coming up. Good job. Everyone got that right.
Leaderboard stayed the same, right?
Yeah.
How do you request a project director change? I think this was when. When do you request a project director change? As soon as you know you need one, after you hired a new project director, beginning of grant year, there is no need to request a project director change.
Yeah, that was supposed to be when.
Oh, Natalie had a good point. It reminds her of the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland. Yes. Or Cheryl says it's like a Halloween carnival.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's anxiety music either way.
Okay, so this one was a little tricky, and I think it was just worded a little wrong for us to know what to select. But as soon as you know you need one is when you need to request a change for a project director. If you know someone quit immediately, or if we should never have a vacant spot. So make sure that you have an interim director in place, even if you haven't fully hired that project director. So definitely, always have more than one person listed on your GAN. You do not want to have the certifying official listed as project director. So if you know that, it's going to be a month or even a week or a couple of those correspondence that we send through G5 go directly to the project director. So it's always important to have someone listed, even if it's a temporary interim director.
And when your APRs are due, your project director is the one who does all the inputting of your APR. So you really make sure that you have the APR or the project director notified to us as soon as you can.
Okay, that mixed things up a little bit.
Okay, your next question, where should grantees look for project goals? Do you look for your project goals in your original application? Do you look for those project goals in your GAN? Do you go to G5 to look for those project goals, or do you go to the OIE website to look for those project goals? Okay. Your original application, that's correct.
Yeah, so it looks like we have some people answering different things. Your project goals are those goals that you as the applicant or grantee created. So those would only be in your original application. Unfortunately, in G5, we cannot figure out a way that carries those goals over. So if you are a new project director and you're wondering what your project goals are, you definitely would want to have access to that original application to see what goals you proposed and what you would be working on with the funds that were received.
Switched it
Okay,
up.
Jamie's in the lead. Good job, everyone. Where should grantees look for Gipper measures? Should you look in the notice inviting application? Should you look in your GAN? Should you look on the OIE website? Or should you look on G5? Where's the best place to look for your Gipper measures?
That's a good keyword, the best place.
Mhm. Might be on a couple of those, but where's the best place?
Yeah.
Okay, so the notice inviting application, and this is because each program that you apply to have different Gipper measures. And every program, every grantee will have the same Gipper measures. So those are the ones, for ACE, we have 8 different ones. And for NYCP, you have 2 different measures. And these are the measures that every grantee needs to report on. And we do data collections on. So every grantee is required to report on the same Gipper measures in that program. The notice inviting application will be very clear on what those Gipper measures are. A lot of people put the GAN. Your GAN is, your notification for your award. Usually do not mention anything about your project measures or your Gipper measures. The OIE website was actually a pretty good guess because sometimes we do post that information there in data collection. And then in G5, it is possible when you are doing your APR that the program officer will input those Gipper measures. So when you are reporting, you could potentially see those. But if you always wanted to check what your program needs to report on to ED or what all programs are required to report to ED, you definitely want to go back to the original notice inviting application.
And on our OIE website, it points you straight to the NIA of each program. So again, it's back to the NIA. Not much change. Okay, your next question, who can be listed on the GAN? That is who can be listed on the GAN, who can have access to G5. Is it your project director and your director's assistant? Is it your project director and your certifying official? Is it all key personnel or only the project director? So who can be listed on the GAN? Those are the same people who have access to G5 for your grant. So 7 of you chose the answer, the right answer, which is your project director and your certifying official. 11 of you have only the project director, but we like to have at least 2 different people, like Bianca had mentioned earlier, that are on listed as your project director and your certifying official in G5 and on the GAN.
Yeah, so I think that was a little tricky as well, just because when you're submitting the APR, only the project director can submit that report, but your certifying official has that access to G5 as well. They are just not able to submit reports. So, only 2 people, unfortunately, we can't list multiple people. I know there's a lot of like assistants and people who work really hard on your grants as well. That would be great to have access to G5, but we only can list 2 people, and that's the program director and certifying official. So it's really important when you are applying to the grants and updating your grant information to list the best people who should be listed on the grant to receive those important correspondence. Next slide. Nice, Bullwinkle. True or false? Can OIE grants be used for building renovations? Can you use the funds for any construction? And only OIE, not other Department of Ed grants, just PD, STEP, NAW, and NYC, our demonstration, which is NYCP and ACE. Good job. So unfortunately, we cannot use our funds for construction, add-ons, building the capacity of our buildings. That is something we cannot do. So definitely look for other grants to help build with infrastructure, but our grants cannot be used for building renovations. Next slide. Okay, so move around.
So your next question, can a project director be listed on more than one grant? So can your project director be listed on more than one grant? Is that true or false? We should have put the level of effort, the max level of effort too. But we can talk about it.
She might be helping them with that.
Oh. Sorry. Where did our Halloween music go?
Was giving too many people anxiety. True, good job. So yes, you definitely can divide your level of effort between grants. You just cannot exceed over 100%. So if you are on more than, multiple grants, make sure that you do not go past 100% on all of them. True or false? Can the same person be listed as project director and certifying official? We all wear multiple hats, but in G5, can we have the same person listed as project director and certifying official?
Might have to pick your jazz music back up, Bianca.
I like jazz.
Can y'all not hear the music?
Oh,
Now it came back on. Maybe you have to be unmuted for it too.
Oh, I didn't even think about the fact that I muted myself and therefore it muted your music. I'm like, well, that way you just don't hear me any like my background noise. But it killed your Halloween vibe. Although I do see, we have a request for some jazz, so I don't know. And I also have Kathy sharing, although she's not allowed on Kahoot because of the firewall, that she is winning over in the chat.
There you go, Kathy.
We are all winners. So false, you should not have the same person listed as certifying official and project director. We definitely want to make sure that those important correspondence go to at least two people. People can leave for good reasons. It could be like a maternity leave or a temporary vacation, and something can be sent out, or they can leave abruptly. And we definitely want to make sure if we're requesting reports or more information that it's going to two different people. So make sure if you are listed as certifying official and project director that you reach out to your program officer and get that updated immediately. Next slide.
Oh, Amber Silverhorn Wolf, you're coming back up.
Thanks.
Okay, your next question. We should all know this one. What does it mean to report 999 on Gipper or project measures? Does that mean your data is not ready? Does that mean you met all your goals? Does it mean your goals cannot be met? Or does it mean your program almost met your goal? So we just submitted all of our APRs. We should know this answer. We should see 100%, as much as Sarah has been having all of our webinars, and we
Do me proud.
What does it mean? 999.
Oh, Natalie said she accidentally hit the wrong button. If only there was an undo.
So we might get 999 for the result, not 100.
Let's get 100% on this and make Sarah very proud.
Exactly.
Close,
Okay.
really close.
That's a good
Yeah.
job.
That means your data is not ready. Exactly. We have a
So just real quick, when you do report 999 and your data is not ready, that definitely means that we're going to follow up and get that information. It's not a free pass to not report on your goals. But that just means that this fiscal year, you have not completed your data. So if you're waiting for the end of the summer because you stated that more kids are going into college than before, and you need, to wait to see who actually went to college. Then in October, we'll come back and see, oh, how many kids actually went to college. And, it should be updated from, 999 to 10, or the actual number. So do make sure that you are keeping track of that information, and report on it if you want to submit it, when you do receive it, so we can have it on file and upload to your grant file. That would be great. But definitely know that we'll be reaching out in the fall time to get an updated measure. Next slide. Who is required to submit an audit, a federal audit? Grantees who receive over $750,000 a year in federal grants, grantees who receive over $1 million a year in federal grants, grantees who receive over $500,000 a year in federal grants, or all grantees who receive federal dollars. Okay, this was a good question to ask. So only grantees who receive over $750,000 a year in federal grants are required to submit an audit. So if you do not receive, if you only receive $500,000 a year in total federal dollars, so that doesn't just mean from the Department of Ed either. That means from SAMHSA, HHS, well, SAMHSA is HHS, but any federal grant that's offered, HUD, anything, a combination of all those grants, if it's over $750,000 a year, you are required to submit a grant. I'm not going to tell you where, because that's another question that's coming up. But not all grantees, hopefully all grantees are receiving, that much money or more in federal dollars each year, and may require you to do so anyways. But if you are receiving less, you may, not have to submit one at all. Next slide. Nice.
Okay, your next question. So where do you submit your audit? Where's this audit going to go? Does it go into G5? Does it go to your program officer? Does it go to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse, or does it go to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse and your program officer? This music's a little less Halloween, a little more Jaws.
It's like video game music, like all of it.
It really is.
Like Mario when you get right towards the end. All right, yeah, this one, you will submit that audit to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse and your program officer. I know we have sent out a few emails around the beginning of your grant or during the year sometime asking for these audits, but you'll put one in the Federal Audit Clearinghouse and then submit one to your program officer. And then we usually upload those to your G5 on your behalf, but that's where they will go. Amber, you keep sneaking back up.
Mm-hmm. How do you know if your cost is allocable and allowable? if it fits your budget, when you have at least 3 bids, if it helps reach project goals and it is cost efficient, if it was submitted in your application. It's a trick question.
Sorry for my background.
Yeah, mine too. My son just came home. So if you hear screaming, he's okay. Let's see, I'm curious. Okay, we did pretty good, kind of. So yeah, the best answer is if it helps reach your project goals and it's cost efficient. I do understand if it was submitted in your application, but that's not always the case. I know some grantees, especially if you're an ACE grantee, if I know my ACE grantees is not one of the 12 because we changed a lot of budgets the first year. But it's not always what was, submitted in your application. So please work with your program officer, but, everything that you are awarded definitely needs to make sure goes with a project goal and that, it's cost efficient. We don't want to, purchase Ferraris for transportation. It doesn't make any sense, right? So we want to make sure that, if it's our transportation goal and it was the best cost, that works for that goal. So please make sure that is, what you're following. Just because it fits in your budget or if you have enough for it doesn't mean that that's probably the best way to spend your money. And also, it's not always what was submitted in your application. There could be times that, things are not allowable in that type of program. Next slide. Okay.
All right, so this question may be a little tricky too. Which students can receive services from OIE's discretionary grants? Is it ED's Indian definition described in the NIA? Is it, move my little guy, all students in grantees service area? Is it only federally recognized tribal members? Or is it only students with 504 form? So which students can receive services from OIE's discretionary grants? Choose the best answer.
Curious to see the poll on this one.
Cheryl said no yachts. Can't forget that yacht.
Nice. Good job.
Yes. Yeah. This is, we can serve students with under our OIE discretionary grants as it's described as ED's Indian definition is described in the NIA. That is the best answer overall.
And I highly encourage everyone to read that definition. I think it's different than how some people define an Indian student. So, it's definitely something to refresh your memory on of what's considered an Indian student.
Right.
Good job, Larissa. Getting faster or smarter, one of them. What is route payments? Is it regular deposits to grantees' accounts? Is it front-loaded funds for next year? Is it when grantees are required to submit a request to draw down funds, or is it a reduced payment? What is route payments? right, the correct answer was when grantees are required to submit a request to draw down funds. If you did not know this answer, it might have been a good thing because you haven't been put on route payment, but route payment is a condition that if maybe you haven't been spending properly, maybe haven't been making those quarterly drawdowns, or maybe you had a really abrupt drawdown, and or so many reasons could place you on route payment where you would need to submit a request to your program officer before you can draw down any funds for your grant.
The best way to not have a route payment, stay in constant contact with your program officer, so they can help you out every step of the way. Okay, here's your next question. Who is required to report quarterly? Do all grantees report quarterly? Do only the grantees with the no-cost extension report quarterly? What about grantees in their last year? Do they have to report quarterly? And grantees who received a quarterly report condition, do they have to report quarterly? So which one is the best answer?
That's a little better song.
Yeah. His little hands are kind of going with the music.
Mm, mm, mm.
He's typing on beat.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Yep, that was pretty much in the answer too. Grantees who received a quarterly report condition are the grantees who have to report quarterly, and again, staying in constant contact with your program officer too, to know when you need to submit those reports and what needs to be in them. That would help you out as a grantee. Okay. B is making a comeback with 3 in a row. And
She
there
even
comes
has a
Amber.
fire icon.
Mhm. When is the final performance report due? Is it due 60 days after your grant finish, 90 days after your grant finish, 120 days from the last day of your performance period, within a year of your grant end date? 60, 90, 120, or a year? And if you didn't know and you're a new program officer, yes, you do have a final performance report due. That will be a collaborative report of all of the years of your grant.
You'll always receive technical assistance on what to include in that final performance report, just like you do your annual performance report.
Okay, so was I doing this one or are you, Donna? Was I?
I don't know who talked last. Was it you?
I mean, I be talking too much, but the answer is 120 days from the last day of your performance period. I would have guessed 92 actually. So I'm with the 11 blue, but it's 120 days.
And
It
it
used
was
to be
90
90.
days. Yeah, it used to be 90 days and that changed. So it was, it's 120 now. I've closed out a lot.
Yeah, see, I would have gone down on that one because I forgot about that.
You haven't had any close this year.
I haven't, not yet, next year.
Oh, I have. So how do you know if you have conditions on your grant? Is it through the non-competing continuation GAN? Do you know if you have conditions on your grant? Only if you ask your project officer? Is it the project director change GAN? Is that when you know you have conditions? Or does G5 send a warning to you if you have conditions on your grant? Which one of those is the best answer? Exactly what I used to tell my students when they were taking all of their tests. You have to choose the best answer. Still hard to do. Sorry, Natalie. Yes, it is through your NCC GAN. So you will know if you have a condition on your grant. When you look at your NCC GAN, there are places on the GAN. Look through it thoroughly. Don't just file that GAN. You need to look through it very, very thoroughly and check everything on there. It will have your conditions. It will have if you have to do, you know, like conditions like quarterly reporting or any other type of conditions that will be on there. So make
If you're
sure
missing like indirect cost rates, if we
audit.
need, you know, an updated cover sheet, if we need any type of additional information, it could come as a condition on your GAN. So make sure you're reading that thoroughly. It's not all standard information. Sometimes, you know, you might have to report quarterly, or maybe you need a request to make those drawdowns and you're placed on route payment. So if any of those things ever happen, when we issue your yearly funds, you receive a non-competing continuation GAN, and that GAN will spell out how much funds you're receiving and if you need to provide anything or do anything to receive those funds, and those are conditions.
And it's your responsibility as a project director and the certifying official, whoever's, you know, over your GAN, your program, to read that GAN and to make sure you know everything that's going on. Your program officers like ourselves, we do the best that we can in getting your information out there and emailing you, but it's your responsibility as a grantee to make sure you're reading your GAN thoroughly. And if you ever have any questions, you just contact your program officer and we'll help you out.
And do not rely on G5. It is not that trustworthy for 10 of you guys to think that the G5 information warning. You need in there.
I wish G5 had a warning that would come on and tell you, you have this going on. That would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that little notification screen?
Yes.
Or even for you guys to see what we upload, like your GANs there. But no, you don't have that privilege. So unfortunately, G5 is not the best answer probably for many of these questions.
All right.
What does front-loaded funds mean? Is this carryover from a previous year? Is it money preloaded for your next fiscal year? Is it extra money because you've been doing so great as a grantee? Is it supplemental funds to collect data?
Jackie, I see where you've lost us. Are you good again? Okay. Maybe I'm able to jump back in and try and answer the questions really quick. Oh, your screen kept spinning.
Okay, so it's money preloaded for your next fiscal year. So if you ever receive a GAN that says supplemental front-loaded, I forgot the actual term that's put in there, read it real closely. If it says anything about front-loaded funds, do not spend any of those dollars the fiscal year you receive it, because it's going to be reserved for your next fiscal year. Unfortunately, we do not have a GAN that states how much you have for carryover or anything that's sent out about carryover. But if you do receive a GAN that says, you know, you've been front loaded, that definitely means that those funds is a partial award for your next fiscal year. So don't spend it, keep it until your next year, and then your next year will be reduced. That funding would be reduced by what you were front loaded. So you'll, you know, receive all the funds that you were planned on being awarded. So if you do spend those funds this fiscal year, your next fiscal year will be a lot shorter, and you won't have everything that you were expecting. So do not touch it this year. It is just money for next fiscal year. Next slide. Nice. Bullwinkle wants that book.
All right, question 22. You can add or change project measures. Is that true or false? Can you add and change your project measures anytime you need to? Project measures, project
The best
goals.
answer.
Yeah. That is false. So we can't go and change our project measures or your project goals that you had originally placed in your original application. You know, we can modify our budget, but we can't go in and change your project measures or project goals, because those are the measures and goals that you were approved on whenever you received the grant.
And there could be rare occasions where maybe you cannot do a certain goal. I know, for instance, I had a grantee that had a goal that was related to like serving adults, and my funding for ACE does not serve adults. It's only for grade age school students. So they cannot report on that measure at all, because they can't, again, their, you know, budget wasn't approved for that either, right? So that was the only part that they couldn't do. So sometimes you may not, you know, there may be rare occasions where things are like kind of changed or add or tweaked a little bit because of the program, but the goals you put in your application, that's why you received your funding. If you said you're going to use this funding to create 10 new teachers, or you're going to, you know, get more students reading, those are the goals that the people who paneled the application believed you were able to do. So you definitely need to stick to them as much as possible.
Now we can modify some of the activities to reach those project measures and project goals, but you know, as far as like overhaul, you know, during COVID, it was difficult for some of our grantees during COVID with our community involvement and, you know, the different types of things that we needed to do according to our program measures that were on our grant. But, you know, a lot of you had outside of the box thinking and were able to stay safe and still meet those measures and goals that you had in your applications by modifying those activities.
Last question.
That means everybody has to get the fast fingers.
Right. True or false? Is it my turn or yours, Donna?
Yours.
You can add or change Gipper measures. True or false?
Let me just say, I'm gonna need you to all get this right.
Right.
Yeah. You will make
Can you
Sarah
change your Gipper measures?
and myself and Bianca, we might cry if you don't get
Yeah.
this.
I mean, we
Oh.
all seen people try, so.
True.
So false, you cannot change your Gipper measures. Again, these are standard for each program. Every program has the same Gipper measures that you need to report to the department on. So for your program, those Gipper measures are going to be the same for the duration of your whole project. And let's see who the winners are.
In third place.
AK, Larissa, and dun 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 dun,
Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle. Okay, can you three please email us? I mean, put your email address in the chat so we can get your contact information and we'll send out those books for you. And congratulations to everyone. You guys did amazing. I know some of those questions were some trick questions. We wanted to fool you a little bit just so we can have a little room for discussion. We do hope, you know, you learned a little bit from this and it was fun. So that was my goal. Is there any questions? Do we have a little bit of time for questions, Sarah?
We do have a little bit of time and we do have a couple of questions. So, and it's good because it's questions that I need a little clarification on in order to put the right thing in the chat box. So that works out too. So the first one I'm seeing here is we had a couple of folks who wanted a link to Ed's Indian definition as described in NIA. So I can post a link to that. The part that there was additional questions on had to do with links to folks NIA. And I would need to know what program you were in order to send you to the right NIA. And it looks like our
Also,
winner,
our website should list all of the current NIAs
Yeah.
yeah, and I can post
on
a link
the
to that.
resources page. They definitely should be there.
Here is a link to just the general OIE website. And just a little tidbit as far as the three winners. Well, so Bullwinkle was John.
Oh, nice.
And then AK Knicker was Carl. And then Larissa was Larissa.
Good job, Larissa.
That one's a little easier.
I love this association. I was wondering who Bullwinkle was.
I know. I kept wondering the same thing. Juanita's wondering, do you have an organization chart that shows who we need to go to for support? I can actually give you a direct link to the org chart.
I didn't know we had that.
Oh, well, see, exciting for everyone.
Yeah.
We have a handy dandy org chart that even has handy dandy pictures of everybody. So I'm gonna give you a direct link to that. I'm still pulling up the Indian definition. I have not forgotten about you. I'm just getting you the correct link. Excuse me.
And those definitions will be in all of your NIAs and
Yeah, they're in any of your NIAs, and then I'll give you the direct link just to the definitions in general. So here in the chat, I just put the definition.
Why can I not see the chat? Is it because
Because it is on Pathable.
never mind. Shouldn't have done it.
And then here is the link to the common definitions, including that one. All right. If we still have funding for some programs, but have no more applicants, can we offer service activities to Alaska Native, American Indian youth out of our region, youth that do not have access to ACE?
So always extending, if you can prove that you're providing all your services to who you designated those services for, and expanding is a great thing. So if you are doing that, definitely you can message me and we can work on what we need to add. You know, if that means we're changing your target and increasing it because you're including those students, or, you know, adding a change of scope, it kind of just depends situation by situation. But yeah, if you do have funds, let's serve more students or provide more services to those current students you're currently serving. So we can talk about that more, John.
Anybody else have any questions? We have a few more minutes. Let's see. We have 99% NIA defined Native students. If we had less, say 75% or so, we still would not exclude students, would we?
So we have 99%. I'm not sure what that's asking, Bo.
Yeah.
So if
I'm guessing he's asking, and correct us if we're wrong, Bo, I may be channeling you incorrectly, but I'm thinking he's asking if they had, say, 25% of their student population that was not considered a Native student, could they serve those, or would they have to exclude them? Because they're in their region, but they're not Native students.
So depending, like for services that like maybe if it's a service that's selected that the students are selecting that's like coming to the school and it's the same cost to include more in those services as possibly, but if they're like actually individuals selecting the services, they should be listed as Indian and like, you know, the recipient of the service who's selecting the services should be an Indian student.
Yeah, and he's saying they do not exclude students from any of the services at all. Yeah, he says student choice has been their mantra. So yeah, I think in particular, you might want to just reach out regarding specific services, because like Bianca was explaining, like if it's a school assembly and they charge $1,000 to do a school assembly, whether you had 5 kids there or 500,
yeah,
then yeah, those 5 non-Native students attending would not be a big deal. If you're paying $50 per kid for them to participate in SAT prep, you wouldn't be able to do that, because then you're incurring additional cost for those students who don't technically qualify.
correct.
Then we had another question. Can we use funds to renovate a classroom? So, and it's a 2-parter. Can we use funds to relocate a portable classroom from one location to another?
I know that would be tricky to do with ACE.
It's
So
an
I
ACE
can't.
question. Well, I say that this person is both an ACE and a STEP grantee.
Okay, but for STEP, it may be for the relocation, but for actually renovating. So if you're like, you know, you definitely can provide buy things that are considered portable, I guess, and like things like desk and chairs and things that are needed for things like that. But you cannot do any permanent construction.
He's saying like
So-
new carpet and paint.
Yeah, that's super tricky. I don't think so. You know, if maybe there's some way in STEP, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
Yeah, he's looking at STEP funds. Carl, my suggestion would be, let's put this together in an email to Shala. She's out today, but let's shoot it over to her and go with the motto. Doesn't hurt to ask, but odds are iffy.
Yeah, because I don't know if they'll consider like carpet and paint permanent. Maybe that could be included. So I definitely think that's dependent on who's approving.
Yeah. Worth a whirl to ask.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not seeing. Okay, great, Carl. I don't see any other questions right now, but somebody may be typing. I just want to remind everybody who's on though, to please make sure and take our feedback poll. If you don't know where that is, right next to chat where you've been hanging out, there's another tab for polls. And when you click over there, you'll see it says, please rate this session. Click here to answer. So if you don't mind, before you head to your next breakout, making sure to do that would be super helpful for us. So it takes like 2 seconds to click a star. And don't worry, Columba, no one could see your answers.
It was good, Columba. You did a great job. I don't know which one was you, but I think you did a great job.
No, everyone did really good. There was no like huge shockers or,
Yeah.
No
a
one
lot of
scored 0.
good. And we have a lot of new project directors. So I hope that some of these questions were challenging. So there was, some takeaway and you learned something. And it wasn't all just fun and games, but yeah, a refresher, a reminder, or just some new information for those new directors.
Well, and we do
And there's so
have
much more to OIE. So this
Yeah.
shouldn't have been titled all about OIE. This is really like
the tip of the OIE iceberg.
right.
We took a lot of questions off because we thought it would go over. So there's a few questions we took off.
Next time it'll be the challenge level.
Right.
Ooh.
We should do a competition between the top 3. See who can get 2 books. The questions we took off.
Well, we have about 9 minutes left in this session, but we are out of questions. Y'all are welcome to stay here and hang out in the chat. And, if you have more questions, we'll answer them. But if you want to run and grab more water or stretch your legs for a second before your next breakout, we understand that too. Just make sure to take that feedback poll before you run away.
Yep. And if you want to take some more surveys, there's that grantee satisfaction survey.
And if
When
you
it's
haven't
surveyed.
received that grantee satisfaction survey, let us know. Email your program officer and let us know if it hasn't come through or not. Because I know there was a few of you who emailed me last week to say it didn't come through. So I'll get that out there to you.
And use the opportunity this week to brag about your programs. We love hearing about it. We have the Twitter feed wall where you can post all your great stories and pictures and share information with other grantees, but definitely brag about all of the great work that you're doing. I know we're reading about, I still need to start, to be honest, but in the APRs, but seeing those pictures and the excitement, it definitely always brings chills to my body, just, reading all the great things that's being done in Indian country. And you guys are doing amazing things. Like, it's so great to hear about the fantastic opportunities and, the people who are receiving all the services.
Yeah, and I did pop Donna and Bianca's emails in the chat. There was a question about who all needs to do that satisfaction survey. And Donna Savis Burns was saying it's just for the NYCP grantees. So if you're like a step grantee or something, don't worry. So yeah, it's the demonstration grantees. So if you're NYCP or ACE, then you should be taking that survey. For the feedback one though, for this session, it's just if you click on the word polls right next to the word chat here in this little box, then you should be able to see the rate the session poll there. And then let me make sure it jumped around on me. Oh, and Jessica, yes, we do have a recording. So after this session is over, give it about 15 minutes and then the recording magically pops up right here. So you can just come right back here to be able to see it. And all the recordings of all the sessions actually will go up that way. So if you were really torn this session, you're like, oh, should I go to All About OIE? Should I learn about battling online learning fatigue? What should I do? Those recordings will be up. So you can always watch them later and they'll be on the website for a year. So you can even share them with your team members. I see Shanna saying, I didn't know we could upload pictures. Yes, over on the social wall, you can upload pictures. Just click that little create a post thing and you can absolutely upload them there. Carl has another question. It's another step question. Oh, let's see. I have one question on the allowable costs for starting the charter. Oh, no, perfect. Okay, yeah. Email those in and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, making some.
Celia is saying tonight I have choose the drum where students are making better choices in school as well as their parents. Very nice.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Oh, and Benata Jessica.
Yeah, I like the feedback too. I'm happy you guys enjoyed the game. If you know me, I love games and I'm very competitive. So I like seeing you guys doing the same.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Good, Lauren. all of our different types of music.
It was like the Monopoly game music, I think. You ever played like the online version?
No, I've never played online Monopoly.
Yeah, or
Oh.
like, video games. I have it on the Nintendo Switch, and I feel like that's like they have like different boards, and there's like a scary one and different ones, and like the music sounded very similar.
Yeah, and I think there's a way you can change it, but not once the game starts.
Change, oh, the music.
Yeah, you can pick which one you want, but once the game starts, it's too late. You're stuck with whatever
Oh,
whatever tunes.
sorry. I didn't know.
I don't know. There's all kinds of weird features in there. All right, well, I think we've actually run through the questions, so we can go ahead and wrap up just 3 minutes early and let everybody have a little stretch break before we see you in the next breakouts.
And did the three send their email contact information?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You got that first. Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone. Enjoy the
Thanks,
week.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.